Yeah, we're live. Yeah. Well, good to have you, Selom. Pleasure catching up with you finally after a long time. Yeah,
Nice to meet you too, Byron. I'm happy to be here.
cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. So yeah, tell us about Selom, your background. How would you describe yourself?
Yeah, so I was thinking of there's so many things I could say. Where to start? Well, first of all, yeah, I'm a Ghanaian, but I was born and raised in London. Lived here most of my life. I lived in Ghana for about 3 years actually, when I was about 11. Um, so yeah, I definitely um, identify as both British and Ghanaian, but more Ghanaian just because what do you call it? The uh, the the patri- the patriotism is strong, in Ghana. Yeah, all of us Ghanaians are really patriotic. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm kind of laid back, easygoing guy. I think I would describe myself as friendly, fun loving, but I'm also quite tenacious and stubborn. Like I don't give up easily.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's a few things about me. Faith is very important to me. I know we're probably going to touch on that later on. Yeah, I was brought up a Christian, and I take that very seriously. It's not just because my parents took me to church. Now I made a decision for myself, and I think it's very important to it's central to all I do. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Tell us about Selom, the artist too, though. I mean, that
Yeah,
that'll be
yeah,
an
yeah.
interesting
Sorry. Yeah,
one
of
to hear.
course, of course. So, in terms of like my tastes, I think I'm very inspired by definitely like cartoons that I watched growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. Um, Definitely inspired, obviously, by Disney stuff, but also
Mm,
like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, that kind of stuff. Um, I I love drawing. I love drawing above just kind of making stuff. So some people like they make other stuff like for example sculptures or craft, and I could possibly get into that, but I love drawing. I love making marks,
mm,
and for me, I prefer doing it on paper. Actually, that's when I feel really free,
mm.
um, to doing it on digitally. What else can I tell you about myself as an artist? I'm actually quite slow. I'm actually quite a slow artist, but I try and take my time and really think about stuff. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, nice. Good to hear. And how did your journey start? How did you get into the arts?
yeah. So, oh man, we haven't got 5 hours, have we?
Well, give us a summary.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Let me shorten a long story. So, I always loved drawing as a kid, and I'm grateful that my parents encouraged me, even though they said I was really bad actually, but they would say, "Yeah, nice drawing," so I'd carry on, which I'm grateful for. So yeah, I loved drawing as a kid. Loved expressing myself, not just drawing but also writing. So I used to kind of write stories and try and illustrate them. But yeah, I fast forward to when I was kind of a teenager. I took art at A levels. So yeah, I was like 17, 18. And I didn't really enjoy it at that point because of the way they were teaching it at school. I found it too rigid. And as I said, I love cartoons. I'm inspired by cartoons, and they were pushing us more towards, fine art, realistic stuff. So I wasn't really interested at the time. And they actually said to me, I should stop drawing cartoons. So I was like, yeah. So I understand now where they were coming from. I think it's really important to learn, realistic stuff. Even if you're going to do cartoons, it's a good way to get a foundation.
Mm,
But I wish they had been more sort of clear that this is the path. Even if you want to do cartoons, you need to learn how to draw realistically. You need to learn anatomy and those kind of things. But yeah, they didn't. So after that, I didn't apply for it at university. I ended up doing business and marketing at university.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Business and marketing. I just didn't know what to do. It was quite generic. So I was like, let me go for it, and then I'll probably, be able to get a job afterwards. And then um, what happened? Yeah, so I did my degree. I hardly drew while I was on my degree. In fact, I didn't draw for about 8 years. Yeah, I didn't really draw for about 8 years just because I was just working in a different field, and my passions had changed. I guess I was more into like football. I can see you're wearing a
Right.
Bayern shirt. Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I was more into football, playing football, watching football, that kind of thing. And then I got into poetry as well during those years. But what brought me back to art was I actually went on holiday to Ghana, and while I was there, I had an idea for like a children's book um, that was like for Ghanaians because I hadn't seen anything like that once when I was at school in Ghana for those
Mhm.
3 years I talked about. So I had that idea, and then I tried to kind of draw some pictures to go with my story, and they were terrible. After not drawing for 8 years, it really showed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I started to look for short courses back in London, online, and I found one that was taught by this former Disney animator, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. So I signed up for it. It was quite expensive, but I was like, you know what, I really want to improve my drawing, and I'm sure this will help.
Mhm.
So I did that course when I got back to the UK. It was an 8-week course, and it was called Character Design for Animation um,
Hmm.
at a place called Central St Martin's, which is in London. And
Hmm.
I fell in love with character design from then.
Hmm.
For those who don't know what character design is, it's you know deciding how characters look for TV or film, cartoons, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit more than that, but that's the short version. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
once I did that course, I was like, wow, I think this is what I want to do. And so I started thinking of ways to to make that happen. And I should say at the time, I was actually studying to be an accountant.
Wow. And this was
Yeah,
after
yeah.
your marketing degree, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. After my business and marketing degree, yeah.
Hmm.
So I did, a few jobs in charities, like finance jobs and admin jobs. And then I ended up studying to be an accountant. And again, like, I didn't know what to do. So my dad was like, why not think about accounting? I was like, sure. But then, yeah, once I knew I wanted to do this, I was like, bye, accounting.
Back.
See you later. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
had to pursue it. I was still working at my job in finance, but I was learning more about this world and drawing again a lot. And then a few of the people on the course they were kind of applying for a master's at that same university. So I was like, okay, but as I hadn't drawn for so long, I wasn't really confident. But they encouraged
Mhm.
me to apply, so I did, and I didn't get on. Not
Hmm.
surprisingly, I made a portfolio and all that. I put a lot of hard work into it, but I didn't get on. And they said, you know what, draw every day for a year and come back.
Hmm.
So that's what I did, and I got on the next year. And
That's
yeah, since then I've just been striving to get into the industry, into the animation industry, and then
hmm.
kind of fell into books by the wayside.
Well,
That's the short version. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Salam. I'm just
yeah,
going to clarify a few things. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
online course for 8 weeks, right? But then you
Yes,
mentioned somewhere in London.
yes,
Was that the university?
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
What's it called again? Sorry.
Central St. Martin's.
Central St. Martin. So online course for 8 weeks, and then you apply to run a course proper with them. You didn't
Oh,
get it. Oh
sorry,
yeah.
no, my
Ah,
bad.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I found the course online, but it was in person. I should have said, yeah, the course was in
Ah,
person.
okay. Oh, it was
Yeah,
in person. Ah,
yeah,
okay, okay, interesting. Well, that's good to hear. Well, I mean, now you draw full time because I mean, I was gonna say that, I know you for drawing. When you mentioned that your passion is drawing,
yeah,
everything that I see, concerning, regarding your work is all, drawing, whether
yeah,
it be
yeah.
CBBS or the Google Doodle thing that you did.
Mm,
Yeah, so
mm.
that's quite interesting. And yeah, so I came across your works, in Hey You,
Mhm.
and I should, yeah, because I know that section. This is you, right? This
Yeah,
is your
yeah,
contribution to the book, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
so I came across your work in Hey You when I got this book at the, I think it was at the British Black Black British Book Festival in Birmingham in
Oh yeah,
2021.
yeah,
And, yeah, and I got his sign also because Dakwa was the keynote speaker.
nice.
Yeah, so came across your work then. I started following you, and then I came across the CBBS thing, the feature. I think that was over Christmas where, you taught us how to draw using fruits, if I remember correctly. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
drawing a
That sounds
character
great.
using fruits. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Then there was, I think before that, there was the Google Doodle thing,
yeah,
dedicated to Andrew Watson, the first female player in the English football league. Can you talk us through these opportunities? How did you come about them? How do you line clients like the BBC, Disney, or Google? And what's been the impact of this on your career? I know it's a mouthful,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's a tough one because I guess my honest answer is not not going to be a satisfactory one for
go
many
for
people.
it.
I've mentioned faith, and honestly, like what I didn't get to in my story before, but I won't take up too much time, is that I honestly believe that this is what God wants me to do. Like this is the career that God wants me to pursue, and I feel that as a result of that, and as a result of me kind of like um, seeking God in every step, things just kind of line up. Things like just open doors. So what I mean by that is, the opportunities that you talked about, the Google Doodle, even Disney, and CBBS.
Mhm.
Um, well, okay, yeah, most of those opportunities, I literally was sitting at home and I just got an email one day.
Hmm.
You know, two of them I encouraged naps. There's two of them. Literally, I took a nap. I woke up, the email was there, and it's like it's crazy. It's crazy. But obviously behind that, there's a lot of hard work. I constantly try and work on my portfolio. Um, I don't post so much on social media now. At the moment, there's something I want to address, because I do draw still for fun, but my
Hmm.
time is really limited at the moment. But yeah, so I do put a lot of hard work into making sure people can see my work, whether it's posting on LinkedIn, previously Instagram, though I haven't posted on there for a while, updating my portfolio, I go to some networking events. So I think all these things help. And then things like what you said, people come across my work in books, like you did. I think actually the Disney opportunity, was it Disney? No, the Google Doodle opportunity actually was someone had seen my work in Hey You as well.
Hmm.
Um, but then they completely forgot about me, and then something else reminded them, and then they got in touch. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it is very
Interesting.
much, all angles putting myself out there, but also, in some sense, there's nothing to do with me. It's kind of,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I get that. I mean, just thinking about your faith, because for every one of your profile that I have come across,
yeah,
there's always been the mention of the role that your faith plays,
hmm,
and I think for me, where I think about it is it's just something that connects with your purpose, because I
hmm,
find that if something speaks to your purpose,
yeah,
then I can't think of a bigger motivation than that, and
hmm,
it's something you can't explain to people, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but it is what it is. So I mean, I do that does resonate with me. And then what's been the impact of these opportunities on your career?
yeah. Good question. So I would say the one that's had the biggest impact, or yeah, the biggest impact was Disney getting in touch with me,
Hmm.
because that was at a time I was actually working for a science company at the time. Um, I was doing some book work at the time. In fact, yeah, when I was still there, that's when I worked on Hey You and some other
Hmm.
books. Um, but yeah, I was working there, 9 to 5, and then on the side doing freelance. But that when they emailed me, I just felt like, okay, this is the time to quit my job and fully pursue this thing. So that was the catalyst for that.
Hmm.
And again, I felt like it was the right time. I felt like God was saying it was the right time.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's had the biggest impact, and also the opportunities that came about because of just having Disney on my CV, on my LinkedIn. You know,
Hmm.
I remember in the immediate aftermath of announcing that I'd been working for Disney, because it was about I'd been working for them for about a month. Before I announced it, I was very careful. I was like, I didn't really want to say it immediately.
Yeah.
Also because I was still working, and I didn't want people to, just think that I was, working for Disney full time, etc. But yeah, so straight after I posted, the amount of messages I got, uh,
Hmm.
can you do this? Can you do that? Can you? So I had to be careful, because obviously a lot of them were not opportunities that I was necessarily interested in. Um, I'm also careful about who I work with, and I have to be protective of my time because I'm very busy.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, for a lot of the people that contact me, I have to prioritize the ones that are going to take me the least amount of time and pay the most money. Just
Mm-hmm.
because,
Understandably so. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Wow.
yeah, so that had an impact, and then obviously the Google Doodle as well. Again, through LinkedIn, I would recommend. I'm going to come to this later, but I would recommend every artist to get on LinkedIn. I think it's a powerful tool.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but yeah, that's that. The reach of that Google Doodle post, I shared my processes and stuff, was crazy.
Hmm.
It was like, I can't remember the exact figures, but I think it was like 1.5 million views or something like that.
What?
It was crazy. Yeah. So
Oh, it's major, man. Wow.
yeah.
Hmm. And just to touch on that, Selom. So it
Mm,
was, the Hey You project, and
yeah.
then, uh, Disney came along, and then, the Google opportunity to came. So it's just
Yeah.
been building on each other, right?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting, interesting. So, I mean, I was going to ask you what your biggest break, was, but I think just this mention of Disney and Google,
Yeah.
they look to me like, those. I mean, those are the highlights in a sense,
Yeah.
or correct me if I'm wrong, or add more if you want to,
No, I think so. Yeah, those are the most high profile ones. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I would say
Hmm.
what I'm doing right now, so I can't say too much about it, but I'm working on a TV show
Hmm.
with a company called Blink Industries,
Hmm.
an animation studio in London, and working for a much bigger studio. Um, that's what I've been wanting to do for a while, because that's working like on the production side. So sometimes I design characters, and you don't know if the show is even going to get made. It's kind of like
Hmm.
just providing some visual appetite, trying to pitch it to whoever they're pitching it to. But this one is one that's actually going ahead. So I'm actually working on the episodes. So I've been wanting to do that for a while. So that's it's really cool.
And you can't say much because of NDAs, right?
Yeah, I can't
Oh,
unfortunately tell you much more
no.
than that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
But actually, but a quick question on that one for me is,
yeah,
so yes, you mentioned sometimes you do these things, and then, the studio or the company is still pitching it, and it may not eventually get like approval
yeah,
from, I don't know, whoever they're pitching it to.
yeah.
In this case, were you part of the whole process, right? Or did you come on board after the pitching
Good
had been,
question.
done, or?
Good question. With this one, yeah, everything was done. So you know,
Oh, wow.
the show had already been green lit. Yeah,
Mhm.
they said go ahead. They'd started everything. They're just putting things in place. I was still quite early on, but yeah, after everything was already agreed, so they had a full salary for me, and stuff like that. So
Oh wow, interesting. Yeah, looking forward to that one then. Hopefully we will not have to wait too long to see that one
yeah,
on
I think it's
TV.
20 next year sometime, early next year, I hope.
Ah, okay, cool.
Yeah,
So let's turn to your influences now. I mean, the first one I'm keen to hear about, which is in keeping with the theme of, this podcast, is, your dual heritage, as a Ghanaian, as a British, Ghanaian. How has that dual heritage shaped your craft in any way? If yes, or has that dual heritage shaped your craft in any way? If yes, how?
yeah, I would say it has. Yeah, I think yeah, as I said before, very proud to be Ghanaian. So I like to yeah, sort of incorporate that into my work. A couple of times I've drawn. Well, there's one character I've drawn. A young girl who's wearing like a kente cloth and stuff like that.
Mm.
um,
The signature star, right?
yeah. And then I've got like I think she's holding an umbrella with a Ghanaian symbol, which is a jinyame symbol.
Nice.
So that was just one of the ways I wanted to incorporate that into the my culture and my heritage into my work. I was inspired by someone else who does that a lot, actually, a
Mm.
fellow Ghanaian. Yeah,
Ah, okay. Well, who's
Yeah,
that, please? Can you
yeah. Her
share
name
his name?
is yeah,
Her name?
yes,
Oh, ha.
yes.
Okay.
Arajwa Afo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I can share,
Interesting.
stuff afterwards with you if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I'll be keen to, yeah, to
yeah,
know more about her.
she's a great artist. She lives in Canada, I think. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, I think
mm,
she either grew up in Ghana um,
mhm,
or lived in Ghana for a bit. Yeah, but she inspired me to do that because she's always drawing like characters in like the typical Ghanaian school uniforms and stuff like that. So yeah, it's cool.
yeah. Well, that's
Um,
nice.
and then yeah, so and then there are some other guys that I drew, and their waistcoats were kind of inspired by Kente. It's like a barbershop quartet that I drew for my portfolio.
Mm,
That actually was, yeah, an image that a lot of people resonated with as well, which encourages me to keep going. Just be authentic and be
mhm,
myself. And then with the
mhm,
British stuff, I've been thinking for a while about doing something like very London focused. But I think naturally, as a resident of London, I'm naturally influenced by what I see. The multicultural society and stuff like that. So I like to draw all races and yeah, all shapes and sizes, etc. So things like that.
Interesting. I'm going to touch on that Ghanaian base. So, if I
Yeah.
understand correctly, you spent 3 years in Ghana, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Three
Yeah. Yeah.
years. And have you gone back, since then? Have you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So thankfully, I've still got both my grandmas living. They're both in their 90s actually, but yeah, they're both around. So we go quite often. Me and my family,
Mm,
we go. We try and go every 2 years at least. Yeah,
okay.
to Ghana.
Wow, that's cool. And then for the influence that you cited, the lady Ajua, right?
Yeah, I ride
Ajua,
yeah, yeah, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Arajua. When you were in Ghana, did you know anything about her works then, or was that when you stumbled
No,
upon
no.
her? Okay, it was afterwards.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because when I
Okay.
was in Ghana, I was quite young, so I was, you know, I don't. Yeah, there was no social media then or anything like that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. And then in terms of your faith, I know you talked a bit about that one earlier. I mean, how much of an influence that have also on your career, on your path?
yeah, 100%. Well, I credit all of it to my faith, to be honest, in terms of my journey, my path, any success that I've had, I credit it all to you know to God, to Jesus.
Hmm.
In terms of how it influences my work, I think um, mostly in the projects I take on or don't take on.
Hmm.
If I'm honest, I've taken someone in the past that I was like, "Oh, why did I do that?" Because yeah, in terms of my faith, they weren't necessarily aligned, and I
Hmm.
wasn't in agreement with what they were trying to kind of promote to kids. But yeah, at the time, I think I was desperate for money or something, so I was just like, but that's not something I'm looking to do again.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely it influences me in terms of projects I take on, being careful
Mhm.
about what I say yes to, and yeah,
Yeah.
definitely finding out more information up front about what it is, so
Hmm.
that I don't entangle myself in something that's
Yeah. The contravenes your values, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
I
And
agree.
then again, I've been trying to weave it more into my work, like visually. Um, I, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to think of if I've actually done that yet or if it's still in the process. But yeah, I have plans. Actually, maybe I'll wait because I know you're going to ask me about future plans. I
Yeah.
have more plans on that side. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. And I will speak on something crossed my mind, which I will probably speak to it later when we talk about your
Sure.
future plans. But just in case I forget, I
Yeah.
think they're called Gomino or something like that. It's a
Okay.
biblical story animation. My daughter loves it. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
just, yeah, I'll probably touch on that when we get there,
Sure.
when we get to that question. So, and then yes, one other thing that I find fascinating about you is, yeah, I mean, especially when people describe themselves as, oh, I'm a father, I'm a husband, then I know
Yeah,
that, work life balance is a huge one for you. So, can you talk us through, what was life like before fatherhood, and what's life like for you now, now that you're a dad and a husband? Yeah.
That's man, it's it's so different. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very, very different. Um, I don't know if you're a father yourself, but yeah, it's very
Yeah.
different. Yeah. Um, so before fatherhood, I would say I was definitely very selfish, more selfish, you know. Um, and even to be honest, with my first child, I was still very selfish. But I think now, I've kind of matured a bit, kind of calmed down a bit. Because what I mean by selfish is definitely like putting my career first, you know. So I'll be very transparent. Like there was a time when, my daughter was not long after my daughter was born. When this was before the Disney situation where I'd quit my job, and I didn't have anything else lined up. But I was just like, I just had enough of my job, and I was like, I want to pursue my art full time, and that's it. So I just quit my job, without a plan, which I wouldn't do now, you know, unless I felt like, God was saying, definitely this is the time.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was definitely like me being selfish. And one of the reasons was because I knew that once my daughter arrived, things would change. So I was like, I don't want to be stuck in a job that I don't like and then end up
Yes.
resenting the fact that I'm a father. So
Smart.
there was a reason I did it, but it was still selfish.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
get what
yeah.
you mean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so things like that, just yeah, the decision making and yeah, in terms of being a husband as well, um, just consulting my wife, yeah, having discussions with my wife. I'm thinking of going for this job. This is the impact it will have on our family. This is how much it will bring in, versus the time I'm going to spend. What do you think? Is it worth it? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're single, man, or those are not conversations you need to have.
Yep.
Anyone, you can just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I could just, up and do a job in Bristol if I want to, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I can't just do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Even so I worked on Jojo and Gran briefly. So that's on CBBC. And the production company who make it is called A Productions, and they're based in Bristol. And I would have loved, that was my first experience on the production side, rather than just the side where you're not sure if the thing is going to be made. So it's like the one
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on now. So I would have loved to go there in person, but obviously, in order to do that, I would have had to like maybe, live there weekdays and come back weekends, or it wasn't worth moving my whole family there, and it wasn't for
Yeah.
long either. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so things like that, I would say, yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. And the reason why I asked that question also is because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, this whole podcast
Hmm.
and my upcoming book, these are all inspired by my fatherhood journey. I have a 3 year
Hmm.
old,
Yeah,
and I mean, I divide my life into, how the Bible has before Christ and life
yeah,
after. So
yeah,
that's how I divide my life journey.
yeah. Fair enough.
There's before get for marriage and starting a family and having a daughter, which is a
Yeah,
life that, yeah, that was its own time. I don't even yearn for that time anymore. It was fun in its own time,
yeah.
but hey, I couldn't replace my current life, which is the
Hmm.
inspiration that I get from my daughter. I mean, again, like I mentioned, this podcast is also inspired by her,
Oh, cool.
living here, just yeah, just meeting people from different communities, and I pray that she grows up, to hear more and learn more from things like that. So yeah, that's why I asked you. So yeah, I'm inspired by my daughter, my fatherhood journey, my life as a husband also,
Yeah,
and and the peace, and joy that I feel in my home, because that drives you also. And in
definitely.
terms of projects also, has
Yeah.
that also impacted, your the kind of projects you work on also? Are there certain projects that you look at and you're like, oh wow, I'm doing this because of my daughter or my son or yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, I think Jojo and Gran is one of those ones
Mhm.
because she was already watching it, so it was really
Ah.
cool. Yeah, because I joined the later season, I think. Yeah, so it was really cool to be able to work on that, and it's something that she watches already, and I know that she'll keep watching. So definitely, yeah, that was really really cool.
Interesting.
Uh,
And if you don't mind me asking, how many
mhm.
kids do you have and how old are they?
Yeah, so I've got two. The oldest has just turned 5,
Okay.
and the youngest is almost 5 months old.
Ah, oh wow, that's a baby.
Yeah,
Congrats, man.
baby, yeah. Thank you.
Congrats, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in terms of your affiliation, so so you cite a character designer at Disney TV called David Perez as your mentor.
Oh
How
yeah.
did you come up? Yeah, how did you come about that relationship?
Yeah, so he's someone I've been following for a while on Instagram. And then yeah, I think I talked to him a couple of times. Sometimes he's really helpful in like sharing advice for just general artists. So sometimes he'll draw over like a certain artist's work, and then he'll post it, and you can see sort of the notes that he's giving people. So I found that inspiring. So I think once when he did that, I got in touch with him and I said, "Oh, this is really cool. Thanks so much for sharing," or something like that. And then I asked him a question,
Mhm.
and he was kind enough to answer. And then I think I hadn't spoken to him much, and then we had sort of a similar experience, which was unfortunately that we were both hacked on Instagram. Yeah, so I was hacked first, and then I managed to get my account back. So when he was hacked, I kind of told him, what happened, yeah, what I did basically, and how I got my account back, and he really appreciated that. And then since I was speaking to him, I said, you know what, I've been thinking about, um, you know, finding a mentor. Would you be up for it? And he said, oh, that's really bold of you to ask me. And he said, yeah, sure, why not? So
Hmm. Wow. And how
yeah,
and how does that relationship play out? What's that? Is it I mean, your mentorship, is it you ask questions or you meet up or I don't know, well, not
yeah,
well, meet
yeah,
up online every now and then or how does that work?
yeah. Good question. So yeah, it started last year. Maybe, wow, I think it's been like a year since I started it, which is
Hmm.
crazy. I didn't realize that. Yeah,
Wow.
but it's been a very busy year, very, very busy year. So there hasn't been much, to be honest. But yeah, we're in constant contact. But we started off with, he gave me an assignment. He gave me an assignment, yeah, to draw these characters, a lineup of characters that work in a restaurant, basically. And then he
Hmm.
would keep giving me notes. I think I did the thing about 8 or 9 times. And yeah, he just kept giving me notes. Oh, do this, do that, do this, do that, do that. So it's really cool. And this is something that his mentor did for him as well. So he's basically kind of doing the same things that his mentor did for him.
Hmm.
And then we've had an online chat as well, where I asked him some questions, and yeah, just to meet him properly and told me a bit about his journey. And then yeah, generally, if I have any questions, I can ask him. Um,
Hmm.
he's I told him that I would show him like some pieces from my portfolio so that he can give me some feedback, but I haven't had time to do that yet. But yeah, we
Hmm.
talk, and
Hmm.
yeah, about work as well. Like if some work is coming up, you know, he'll tell me or I'll tell him. So yeah,
Wow, so that's a work in progress then. I mean,
yeah.
and when I say work in progress, even in terms of your craft, you're still
Mm.
learning stuff. I mean,
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah,
actively learning, you're still leaning towards others for advice, to help
yeah.
you shape your craft. And yeah, because it can seem sometimes like, there's, you've reached this point where, there's nothing else to learn. But what I'm getting from you is there's a
Yeah,
science in a sense to drawing also, and certain people know more about these underlying theories and they can put you through, which is
absolutely. Yeah,
wow,
yeah. I'm a
interesting.
baby. I'm a baby. I see myself as a baby in the game. I've achieved, thank God, I've had some wonderful opportunities, but I, to be honest, I think all of them came too early. If I'm very honest with you.
Hmm.
I mean, I say too early. God's timing is the best.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I wouldn't have expected those opportunities when they came. I would have
Hmm.
thought they were years down the line. The Google Doodle is something that I wanted to do. So when it came my way, I was like, wow, it's amazing. But I thought it was like 8, 10 years further on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely still developing, still growing.
Hmm.
This job is helping a lot because it's my day job at the moment,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm drawing so much and getting feedback from my superiors, and yeah, really helpful, really helpful.
Hmm. Wow, nice. And in terms of, and still sticking to this, subject of affiliations,
Hmm.
do you have any other, game changing workshops or mentorship programs or affiliate organizations, that are still shaping your career or that have shaped your career? Because I think that'd be interesting for other people to know also.
Yeah, definitely. So I would recommend what do you call it? There's an online school called CGMA, which
Hmm.
stands for CG as in Computer Generated Masters Academy. And it's not just CG that they do. They just call themselves that because I think
Mhm.
maybe that's how they started. But they do all sorts of courses. These are not just animation but illustration as well. And I did a course on there called Character Design for Animation, I think. Same title as the one I did, when I first started. Um, that was amazing. Yeah, it was taught by someone who works for DreamWorks, and it was really, really good. Yeah, really good. So it is that. Well, to be honest, that one is quite pricey. I'd see it as an investment. I think you can pay in installments. Of course, there are other avenues that you don't have to pay for.
Mhm.
Um, I I tend not to recommend YouTube necessarily because there's so much out there. You don't know what is
Mhm.
good and what's not. And there might be like one good video, but then what you really want is someone who can actually give you feedback. That's the most important thing to get. So if you're just
Mm.
watching something and you're learning from it, but you're not getting feedback, it's cool, but it's not the same as if you get
Mm.
one-on-one feedback. And someone's actually looked at your work and they can talk you through it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'd recommend that. Or Schoolism is another online school. Again, that one is quite. I think maybe is it cheaper? Maybe cheaper. But yeah, a lot of these things are an investment. But
Yeah.
other than the ones you have to pay for, there are various really helpful resources. For example, like just in day to day practice, there are there's a website called. Wait, am I allowed to say? Yeah, there's a website called Living Lines Library.
Living Lines Library.
Yeah, yeah, and it has like um again, yeah, because my my focus has been animation. I'm going to throw out all animation stuff, but they're
Mhm.
very relevant for illustrators as well. It has like animated model sheets. I don't know if you know what a model sheet is. When so it has you can see the work in progress of like all these films from Disney and DreamWorks, and
Oh,
all their concept drawings is really helpful actually because you get to see
oh.
the sketches, and you
Mm.
can sometimes see how they actually came about the drawings.
Wow, that'll be inspiring, man.
Yeah, yeah. Even
Wow.
animation like pencil tests, when the animation is just in pencil, it's
Hmm.
really cool to see. So that website is something that I keep going back to. Um, and what I do when I study from it. So what I mean by that is sometimes I'll pick a group of expressions for a certain movie, and I'll just like either draw over it or I'll just try and break it down, try and work out why it looks so good. So I'm wondering, is it the shapes? You know, um, is it the way they've drawn the lines? So I'm constantly analyzing things like that.
Wow,
Um,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I
And
would
do you
say
have
figure.
any?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, I would say figure drawing as well is good. There are some sites online, it's and if you're not comfortable doing like nude models, there are clothed models as well. You know, so that's something that's key, especially with drawing humans anatomy. But there's one called Line of Action that also does animals as well. So like they've taken lots of pictures of animals if you want to learn how
Mhm.
to draw certain animals, and yeah.
Well, man, there's more to there's more to drawing than just
Yeah,
just putting pen to paper there. And
yeah.
do you have any? Do you belong to any? I don't know, art related organizations or I don't know,
Okay.
councils or anything of that sort.
No, not really at the moment. No. I know that there's the like uh what are they called? Oh my gosh, I've even forgotten. Like something like the Society of Illustrators or something like that. But I'm not a
Yeah.
member. I'm not a member. I've
Yeah.
done some stuff for, their workshops, but I'm not a member.
Hmm. Would that be AOI? Because I know
Oh yeah,
Association
there's
of
that one as
Illustrators.
well. Yeah, there's that one as
Yeah.
well. I think I was thinking of, what's it called? I think it's shortened to Scooby, but I can't remember what the.
Society of Children's Book Writers and
There
Illustrators.
we go. There we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
member.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool, 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 cool.
yeah, yeah. I'm a member.
Nice.
Oh, so you've done stuff with Scooby?
Yeah, like a workshop for one of their like events.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting. And I should now that I mean, speaking of workshops, I mean, I was going through your website and I saw that you've offered workshops to students. Is that part of your offerings as an illustrator? Is that like a set business offering?
yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, one of my favorite things to do actually,
Hmm.
because yeah, I love passing on my knowledge, whether it's kids or adults. Actually, I'm very passionate about adult learning. I'm one of those people who believes that it's never too late to learn something.
Yeah.
Um, and because I got into my career late as well, I think I have a special like a heart for people who are adults and wanting to learn stuff. So yeah, workshops is definitely something I offer. Um, I think I don't know. I can't remember how that came about at first. Maybe someone asked me once, and I just decided that it's something that I want to offer.
Hmm.
So I've done a few. I've done some in schools. I've even done one with Little Box of Books. I don't know if you've heard of them, publishing
Okay.
company. That was at Chelsea Stadium, so that was really cool. Lots of kids. Yeah,
Oh wow, your rivals, man. Okay.
yeah, I know. It was still cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that I love to do, and yeah, something that I offer as part of my services at the moment. You
Hmm.
know, I don't really have time. Well, to be honest, I could, but I'd have to take a day off.
No, yeah. And these are paid offerings, right? So your workshop is a paid
Yes.
thing, yeah. So it's a service that you're rendering.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I do.
Do you have any other services that you render, from a business side of
Yeah.
things?
So yeah, so again, this is not something I'm necessarily like shouting about at the moment, but yeah, I do like family portraits and things like that, general commissions.
Mhm.
Yeah, if someone wants like let's say a picture of themselves for as a DP for their Instagram or something like that, I'm happy to do
Mm,
things like that.
okay.
What else have I done? Yeah, of course, characters. Um, yeah, book illustrations, of course.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And then, yeah, current and future projects. Well, we know what we know what your current project is about. We know that you can't speak much about it because of NDA,
Yeah.
but we know it's an exciting one. But yeah, so just tell us about what you want to say about it, if you still want to touch on it, or yeah, your future plans. Exciting projects that you'd like to share.
Sure. Yeah. So there's another current project actually because this is my day job, but I'm still doing a bit of freelance.
Okay.
So I've got a book on at the moment, which it's a really cool book actually, and one that I need to read myself. I haven't had the time to like properly read it, but as I've been illustrating it, I've you know read some of the sentences and the chapters. But it's
Mhm.
a book about money. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Money, and it's by a guy called Emmanuel Asuquo. I think
Hmm.
I don't know how you pronounce it.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's is that the guy that features on BBC from not
Yes. Yeah.
BBC, I
Yeah.
think yeah,
Yeah.
BBC Morning
Yeah.
from time to time talks about investments and
Yeah.
things like
Exactly.
that. It's on
Exactly.
the big side, right?
Yeah.
Think yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So he's got a book coming out. It's been announced, so I'm not breaking any confidence or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's got a book coming out. This year, in the summer, I think. And so I'm working on that right now. It's really cool, actually. Yeah. So I'm just
Hmm.
kind of I'm in the rough illustration stage, um, which is I think that's the hardest stage actually of books because that's where all the thinking is. You're wondering how do I depict this? You know, because especially if you've been given a brief and you're trying to meet it and you have
Hmm.
like a certain amount of space, you're like, how do I do this? How do I fit it into
Yeah.
this space? How do I show all the people that they want to show? What kind of style do I use? All these things.
Hmm.
Once you get to the final stage, it's kind of like formality is too casual a word, but almost like a formality. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So that's current projects. Oh, and I just finished another book about a guy called Billy Boston. He was a rugby player back in the day. He's a mixed race guy. I think his dad was from
Okay.
Sierra Leone, and yeah, unfortunately, he experienced a lot of racism and stuff. So this book is to pay tribute to him. Finally, he was Welsh. Oh yeah, he was half Welsh and half Sierra Leonean, and he lived in Wales. And finally, he's been recognized, with statues and stuff like that. But he wasn't allowed to play for his country, when he was
Mm,
playing and things like that. So yeah, it's another
mm,
way of recognizing how good he was, basically,
yeah. Mm,
belatedly.
yeah. And
Yeah,
these books, Selom, these books, these are not, are they geared towards kids or just general, more
yeah,
adult
yeah,
audiences?
yeah. This money one is geared towards kids as well. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's been really it's really child friendly.
Mm.
So he's talking about. Actually, maybe I can't say. Well, yeah, he's
Yeah.
talking about
Oh,
how you can turn a pound into other things.
hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, starting
And the
small.
one about the Welsh rugby player is
Yeah.
also a children's book.
Yeah, that one is definitely for young kids. Actually, it doesn't touch too much on the racism, um,
Okay.
but it is. Yeah, it's featured. Yeah,
Mm. And these sort of projects, this children's books and the likes, how do you come about them? Do you have an agent that represents you, or people just approach you directly?
good question. Yeah, so I used to have an agent. Yeah, I used to have an agent, but I chose to part ways. I think it was 2021, around the same time that Disney came knocking. I think I had too much on, and the agent was good. But one of the things is that they like you to do a certain amount of books, in a year and that kind of
Mm.
thing. Um, and also, unfortunately, sometimes publishers can be slow to pay, and
Hmm.
if you have an agent,
Interesting.
it makes it even slower because they have to pay them first before they pay me.
Mm.
So all these things were reasons why, and also I felt like I'd done enough books and seen enough contracts to know what I was supposed to look out for. So I was like, you know what, I kind of need to keep all the money I'm getting. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I couldn't really afford to pay anyone else anymore.
Mm-hmm. And there's the freedom too, right? So, uh, and your current
Yeah.
projects, did they approach you directly?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't answer
Ah,
that. Yes, they did.
ah.
Yeah, yeah, both of them. Yeah,
Mm.
so I got emails. So the Billy Boston one, I think that was basically because of my Google Doodle, kind of a similar, I think, a sports hero.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then the other one, um, that was by Penguin. They just emailed me. I don't know. I didn't ask them actually where they saw my work, but yeah, they just emailed me and asked if I wanted to do the book.
Hmm. Interesting. I think this is a good time to speak on something that you mentioned earlier, which is
Mm.
around the impact of, LinkedIn. So what role has that played in all of this? And yeah.
Yeah, I think a big role, a big role. So yeah, there was a time that just before Disney approached me, actually, I had a strong sense that I needed to update my LinkedIn because, as I said, I was working for like a science company, but I felt like I needed to update it with all the art stuff that I'd done.
Mhm.
And I think it was the next day when Disney contacted me.
Perfect timing.
I know, right? And I'm convinced that they saw that, and I'm convinced that they saw that, though they haven't said explicitly. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the timing was just too like, yeah. And yeah, just generally like making connections on there. Last year I did a lot of work with an animation studio called Mercury Filmworks in Canada. They're really cool. So they're not actually that well known, but you probably would have seen their work because they do a lot of animation, and um they do a lot of animation for other studios as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, these more recent Mickey Mouse shorts that Disney have been doing, I don't know if you've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they animated those. Yeah,
Interesting.
and then they have a show called Hilda that's on Netflix, quite a popular show. It's
Okay.
won Emmys and stuff like that. And yeah, so this is for one of their new projects, their own projects. I was working on with them. I worked with them like 3 times last year on a freelance basis.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. And the COO, he just messaged me on LinkedIn one day, and that was it. Just started
Oh.
working with them. Yeah. So
Hmm.
so it's a place where, if you keep it up to date, and yeah, just keep connecting with people,
Hmm.
you can really get some good results. The thing I like about LinkedIn as well is that, like, it's the way that it has a ripple effect. Yeah, because it has something called impressions. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it basically, if someone likes your work, then other people can see it on their page.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes more visible to other people just from someone liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it's not the same with Instagram. If someone likes my work, no one else will know. No one else
I mean,
will
I can vouch for LinkedIn because I mean that's
know.
the one platform that I take seriously.
Yeah,
I mean it's opened up doors for me, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. I mean I share stuff, and I guess there's also something very professional about it, which is
yeah,
what it's about really compared
yes.
to other platforms. I mean I'm liking stuff on Instagram, not necessarily reading the posts, and I just
Mm-mm-mm.
every now and then I turn it, just open up my Instagram, and I just start liking because because it's visually appealing, right? But on
Yeah,
LinkedIn, I'm actively reading stuff, connecting with people,
yeah.
So yeah, I can vouch for that. And it's also opened doors for me. I mean, I work as a software engineer and I get opportunities,
Mm,
via LinkedIn. So
okay.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I
you
can
touched
vouch.
on something really important. I think when you said that, yeah, it's more professional. I think that's the thing. That's what I'd advise people to do it. Like, if they're actually looking for work, I
Mhm.
think it's good to be on there, because that's, yeah, somewhere that people look if they're looking for someone. You
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder though if you use something called, because on LinkedIn, I found a feature called, I found that you could set up, what's the best way to put this? You could make your you could do something called a creator feature or something like that. You set
Oh,
it up
okay.
in a way that you can feature your works. That's literally what it's about, So
Oh, yes.
creator, yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing that's something that you're currently using also, right? So
I
you
think
can
so. Yeah.
feature like a portfolio of your works,
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
make any post and then you can right click and then feature it at the top or something like that. Um,
Okay. Maybe I didn't know about that bit.
mm,
I'll look
mm.
into it. I'll look
Yeah,
into it.
yeah. I'll see if I can dig up something because I'm using it on LinkedIn, and yeah, but I mean what you have is already working for you, so okay. But yeah, but yeah, I'll share that also. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, and a wish list of collaborations, Selam, do you have any?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
any of those?
So, you know what? So I don't have many like authors that I want to work with, but there is one author that I would like to work with. Her name is Swapna Haddo. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard of her.
Mm-mm.
Cause so I think she wrote, because you know that I know you know Dapper. Um, we're going on a no. What's it called? Um, is it my what's this? I'm trying to remember the name of the book. Something like My Mom is a Bear, or something along those lines.
Okay.
Um, I can't remember what it's called, but Dapper illustrated that book for her. But I think generally her writing is really good.
That were illustrated the book. I can in my head. I've
Yeah,
seen it before.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like my dad is a
that,
bear, or something like that.
yeah,
My mom
yeah,
is a
yeah,
lion, not lioness, or
yeah, yeah. I know
I can't
that book
remember the
because I
exact
know I
title.
know that bear image.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's in my head.
it's really
Yeah.
bad because
Okay.
the book is in my house, but I can't remember
Mm.
what it's called. But
Oh
yeah,
wow.
I'd love to work with her on a children's book if the opportunity comes up.
Okay.
Um, but animation wise, there are lots of studios I'd love to work. To be honest, I'd love to work for all the big
Big
studios.
studios, right? Yeah.
Yeah, especially
Mhm.
like Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is one that I would love to work for, because yeah, growing up, I used to watch a lot of Nickelodeon, and I remember when it first started. That's the thing I think that I
Mm.
connect to. Like, I remember the first day that they aired anything, and I was there
Wow.
watching it. So yeah, a lot of the shows I grew up with,
Hmm.
DreamWorks, Pixar. Obviously, if they came, I would
Hmm.
not say no.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice.
No,
That's good.
seniors. Yeah.
Hmm. Personal projects? Any?
Personal project at the moment, not
Mm.
really, not really. What
Okay.
I what I have in the works, but again, I don't really have time at the moment. But
Hmm.
I want to create a hub. I have a page on Instagram, and that's as far as it's gone so far. But I want to create a hub for Christians in animation. So that's something I'm working on, and
Nice.
I want to do something similar to you, where I interview people in animation and ask them about, their experiences, how they got into it. So yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
similar to what
Wow.
you're doing right now.
Interesting. Yeah, you should do that though. It's just, yeah, just take that step, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
one. That's interesting to hear. And in terms of working with you, Selom, how might
yeah.
people go about it? I mean, now I know you don't have an agent, but how can
Yeah.
people reach out to you if they're interested in working with you?
Yeah, lots of ways. I mean, Instagram is always a good one, or LinkedIn, if they're connected, um, and or my email.
Mhm.
I have X or Twitter or whatever it's called. I don't use it. Not gonna lie to you. I don't use it
Same here,
anymore.
man. Same here.
So don't bother with that one because it will be about 5 months before I see your message.
Mm,
But yeah, Twitter. I'm sorry, Instagram, LinkedIn, email,
email. And they can
or
find your
directly through my
email.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, or directly through my website. I have like forms
Sorry.
there, I think, as well. Yeah.
Ah, okay, interesting. I'll put this one out there. And then, yeah, last question from me is, do you have tips for other artists out there, looking to follow in your footsteps? Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, loads, loads, loads. But I'll keep it short. Um, I think one of the most important things is we've touched on it. Just remember that it's a journey and kind of be patient with yourself. You really need patience if you're looking to grow, and you need to dedicate time and effort and possibly, probably money into it as well. Treat it as an investment. Um, Definitely, I would say don't shy away from posting your work, even where you are right now, because there might be someone who will see it and be drawn to it, and either want to help you develop, or you know or want to hire you if they feel like you're at that stage. But yeah, don't shy away from posting your work. Also, definitely get in touch with people who you admire, you
Mhm.
know either on Instagram or wherever, and ask them questions. Yeah, be specific with your questions though, because they're most likely very busy. But yeah, ask them questions, and I'm sure most people will be willing to help you. Um, there are so many like resources and books that are helpful. Um, Also, like especially if you want to be a children's book illustrator, you know, it sounds like such a simple thing, but buy children's books and look
Yeah.
at look at them and see what you can learn from them. How people arrange their art, and the kind of styles they use if you don't have a style. Also, don't be this is a hard one to say because it's something I struggle with myself. But kind of don't beat yourself up if you don't have a style.
Mm,
And kind of don't be in a rush to find a style. Just make work that makes you happy. Yeah, that's another important thing. Yeah, draw the things that you like. Don't draw unicorns just because you think people like unicorns.
makes sense.
If you don't like unicorns, don't bother drawing unicorns. Because it will come through. Whatever your passion is, hopefully, will come through in your
Mm.
work. So yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Salom. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Pleasure
Nice.
chatting with you too. It's nice.
Yeah, cool. I will end this recording now
Sure.
and